Regina King, let's just go straight to it. You won an Emmy in September, and that was huge for you. Talk us through that really special night.
Well, I mean, it was, as I guess it's hard to put it into words because it was special for more reasons than just winning the Emmy. So it was kind of like special from, getting dressed all the way until going home later that night. Special because, my grandmother was really sick and I just flown back in from seeing her, and she was actually deathly ill, and she's still alive and great now at 92.
Wow.
And she got to watch me win in Cincinnati and in the hospital after me just leaving her the day before. So that was pretty special. That's the first time I've ever shared that, because, I'm here because of my grandmother. She's the true matriarch of our family. And it was special having my son with me, Taraji presenting it to me. That made it even more emotional. Viola and Uzo actually winning awards as well. It was just great. I really felt like my peers were supportive, and everyone that I talked to, from Kathy Bates, like maybe 10 minutes after, she was like, you so deserve this. You have deserved this for so many years. And just to hear someone like her, who I've watched and admired, and she has drawn so much emotion out of me when I watch her performances, for her to say that to me was just like, wow.
Wow. I don't want to speak out of turn and I don't want to detract from anybody else, but it really meant a lot for many of us who follow this stuff, because we've seen you on television and in film for a very long time, and it just felt like finally the Academy cottoned on. Like, yes, thank you. Regina King she now has some hardware to go with this really long resume of work that you have. I mean, you've got some Critics' Choice nominations for your work on Southland, and you've won a few other awards here and there, but the Emmy is a big deal, I think. And your role in American Crime was such a special one. You were playing, someone that we don't normally see on television. And I just, I'm wondering if you got a lot of feedback about that particular role and how you were taking a lot of risks with that.
Well, I just with the climate of the world now, I think it made that role even more, made it even more significant to win, to portray someone like Aaliyah. John Ridley is a genius, as I've said many times and will continue to say, to be gutsy enough to allow that woman to have a voice like that on TV. And then I'll even take it a step further. Not only was John Ridley gutsy in writing it, ABC was gutsy in allowing him to do it and airing it. The show in itself is, not the norm for a broadcast network. Yeah, to win for that role. And as you said, a lot of people said to me, I feel like this was for everything. This was for Southland. This was, yeah.
And speaking of gutsy, you returned to American Crime for its second season. It's an anthology for people who haven't seen it. If you haven't seen it, where have you been? You played Terry LaCroix, a completely different setting, completely different storyline. And wow, for John and for ABC and the producers, Mark McDonald, for them to bring this story to broadcast television was like almost unfathomable. So it was about, male sexual assault, campus sexual assault. And what was most important for you in terms of this character, Terry, and bringing her to life for audiences?
Well, I think for me, I think it's no secret. I love strong women. I love strong characters. And it's probably because that's what I know mostly. Most of the women in my life. Family and friends are forces of nature. But I thought the thing about Terry that was unique to television is to see a woman that is an elitist that's Black. I think a lot of Black people, we know Black elitists, but as far as, you know, other cultures, they're not really familiar with that woman, and she really does exist. So I thought that it was a wonderful opportunity to play, once again, someone you don't see on TV but exists in the world. And, you know, John Ridley always uses the word reflective when he's talking about the characters that he's created. He and the writing team has created on American Crime. And that word really resonated for me with Terry, because I felt like although she is elitist, and a lot of her views are because of the experiences that she's had coming up and to get to where she is, some of those things she's created. And I felt like it was important for the audience to engage in her enough to take the journey to believe when she owns up to some of the mistakes she's made.
Yeah, and that's the progression that we take throughout the season. She starts off really strong, really defiant, and you can see that she's fighting to keep that for as long as possible, but she ends up cracking towards the end. And that would have been a real pleasure for someone like you to play, because, as you said, you do play a lot of strong, defiant women, which is why we all, you know, love watching your work. This was something different, because you do start to see Terry crack under the pressure. And I think a lot of that has to do with, because it's her son who is under so much scrutiny. And for any of us who are parents, we totally understand that dynamic. Talk us through this protectiveness that Terry had for her son.
Well, I mean, just, you know, like you said, as parents, you know that you're like a mother bear, you're like a lioness when it comes to your child, and the idea that anyone that someone would even threaten to hurt your cub or your baby, you know, you go ballistic. And I think for a woman like Terry that is so strong, I think that the only way she was going to be able to soften up and possibly see where a different perspective could be necessary, or a different perspective exists in her world, was if her son was in a situation that was in jeopardy. I don't think that she would have taken the time to, I don't think she would have taken the time to understand if it wasn't her son. Because, you know, just as being a Black woman in America, I felt like Terry was a woman that didn't have a lot of examples of someone taking time for her. You know, maybe as far as her family is concerned, but as far as outside of her family, everything she's gotten, everything she's received is because she's had to work 3 times as hard, or has had to jump through more hoops than, you know, a woman that wasn't Black. And she wears all of that on her sleeve, you know.
She really does. The other really fascinating aspect of season 2, apart from, you know, the campus sexual assault and violence towards LGBT people and all those things which are fascinating, but one in particular, which I think resonates especially for your character and the characters played by Andre Trevor, was this concept of masculinity, especially in a sports context. And a lot of that comes through the interactions that you and Andre have with Trevor playing your son Kevin. Can you talk us through that dynamic? Because it was a little bit more nuanced. We saw a lot of it through Joey Polari's character, but we also saw it through your side as well.
Right, which I thought was really, really interesting, and an awesome way to introduce how the majority, I would say, and then I think I can only speak for this country, the majority of us, when we think rape, do not consider that it could be same sex. And I think they call it peer on peer. usually when we think of it as same sex, it's usually molestation. It's not rape. Like we feel like, oh yeah, that happens, but not peer on peer. And never having discussed it, knowing anyone that's experienced it, Terry's idea of that happening was that, well, if someone steps to you that way, you can fight someone off. You're a man, and it's a very, it's kind of juvenile in a way to think that just because someone's a man, they can stop something. But then it's also a direct reaction, or it's a belief that we have because of our society, because the way our society has been built up, all of the different stigmas we put on things. We're left with the belief that, oh, men can fight them off. That doesn't happen. And it has, and it has happened. And speaking within that world in Indianapolis where they were, that was a huge wake up call for Terry and Michael to not only have to consider that, but I felt like we both, Andre and I, felt like this was the family that, being hit with this type of information, we would go and do the research to find out how common this is. Like we're those people, and we were hit with the discovery that, wow, this actually does happen. And I think maybe that was probably the first layer to the onion being peeled back for Terry.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we're lucky enough that ABC has decided to go with a third season. It's early days. The writers are probably still working out what to do, but have you heard anything? Would you be involved if you were able to fit it into your busy schedule?
Absolutely. I mean, having the opportunity to be, as an actor, when you get the opportunity to be a part of a piece of art like American Crime, The Leftovers, the bar is just set really high. So I'm sorry if you hear, that's the cars outside the garage, the garbage truck. Sorry. Sorry, everybody. When you have the opportunity to come back to something like that, and then with American Crime, what makes it so special, it's like a theater group, with Felicity and Tim and Lily and Elvis and now Connor and Joey. And I don't know who's coming back and who isn't. I don't know. But to know that you're going to come back with a group of actors that are bringing their A game every time makes it even more exciting. So that was the long answer to the, yeah, I am coming back. But no, I'm not able to reveal quite yet. I'll let John and Michael drop that jewel on the subject matter that we'll kind of be tackling on this third installment. But I got to tell you, I'm very, very excited. And once again, it's not subject matter that we're used to seeing being dealt with on broadcast TV.
I wouldn't expect anything less. We're so excited about that. But we've got to talk about The Leftovers now, because that is actually my favorite show. I've spoken to almost every single person from your cast, and I've also spoken to Damon. I think let's begin with this. So firstly, you're very lucky that you're able to work on these two projects. How did you fit them together? And by the way, after all your long career, how do you feel now that you're on two projects like this that are written at such a level that you just must be feeling very fortunate that you get to speak these words on two different jobs?
You know what? Honestly, I feel like I did something right in the past life. The soul has been traveling the universe. It's doing something right, because that 2015 shooting those two shows, I mean, you couldn't ask for anything better. You really, really, really couldn't. You couldn't ask for any better leaders than Damon and John. Couldn't ask for two better casts. I actually, when I met with Damon and both the Toms for The Leftovers, and they were just kind of giving me broad strokes of the world that they were creating for season 2. And my number one, and I didn't share this with them at that time. I didn't share this with them until after we finished the season. I just really wanted to have just something that I can sink my teeth into with Carrie Coon and Ann Dowd. Yeah. After seeing season 1 of The Leftovers, I thought the entire cast is great. I mean, I don't need to remind anyone that's seen the show that. But you know, I'm a chick. I'm all about girl power, and just Carrie and Ann just had some powerhouse performances, and I just kind of felt like, as you know, as a peer, as sisters in the name of art, I would love to be able to express with them. So I got a chance to get one with Carrie, and that was pretty. It was better than anything I could have imagined.
Yeah, let's talk about Lens, because that is a fantastic episode for Erica, your character. In particular, that scene in the living room between you and Carrie, it's like a two-hander. It goes on for minutes and minutes, and you get a great monologue towards the end of it. There are tears, the camera's right up on your face. I've never seen anything quite like it, and people are still talking about this. You and Carrie were just dynamite. Can you talk us through that? Because it was a real highlight of season 2.
Well, I think I can speak for Carrie here. It was a highlight for both of us, just in our careers. You get into this business because you want to. Your form of art is expression, is physical, verbal expression, and the possibility to play a lot of different people. But you know, it starts with the words. And, you know, we take those words and we make them ours. So, and then you want to be able to work with great artists that do the same thing that you do. So I think that there was a mutual respect for Carrie and I. And then, you know, when we read that script, we were both in the hair and makeup trailer at the same time, and we just looked at each other like, what? Okay, let's go. And we never really rehearsed or discussed the scene. We both, because sometimes you do that. You do sit down as actors and kind of talk through what's going on, especially if there's some things that you're unsure about that maybe the creator might have discussed with the other actor about their character that you don't know about. So sometimes I think that is a necessity. But for us, by that episode, we were very clear on who Erica and Nora are. We both kind of had our own personal feelings on why Nora was doing what she was doing and why Erica was doing what she was doing, that we didn't feel like we needed to share those things. So on the actual day, we just did a quick line read through before we started shooting. And Craig Sobel, who's did I say his last name right? Craig, am I confusing it with Barry Sobel? Oh gosh. Craig. He's such a great actor and such a patient man and a really good communicator. He just said that this does not require a bunch of blocking or anything like that. It's just a showdown. So you're here and you're here, and we totally were for that. So it didn't require a lot of talking and working the moving parts out, and we just dove into it. And Carrie is the type of actress that likes to give. And I'm the same way, because we kind of believe that the more you give and the better their performance is, the better your performance is going to be. You know, you give the editor more to work with, and on the cutting room, and in between setups, when they turn the camera around and move cameras, we were being silly and being girls and talking about everything other than the episode. I mean, other than the scene or episode. And I will say though, after the first take, we both were like, wow, okay, this is gonna be great. That was great. It was kind of that mutual, that was great. And they did my coverage first. So all I could say to Carrie was, thank you for giving it to me, because she did not hold back just because the camera wasn't on her.
Wow. I really implore people to watch that scene, just because it really is quite effective.
Thank you.
The other one in that episode is interesting because it's at the fundraiser where Erica just gets to let loose and just kind of tell the people of her town what she thinks of them. And it occurred to me when I saw it months ago, how does it feel for an actor to just be able to have the opportunity, because it doesn't happen a lot. Sometimes you've got to act with your face, or you've got to keep it internal, to just let go and just let it out. Is it fun?
Yeah, I mean, what I do is fun. I think acting is fun. I lucky enough that my career is my hobby, so that's a lucky thing. Yeah, I would say at first, honestly, it was a little scary, because you just don't. It's not like it was a room of actors. It was a room. Majority of the people in the room, you know, there were some sprinkled along, but most of them were extras. Yeah. So, you know, and I have to interact with them and look at them. So my concern was like, oh gosh, I hope something doesn't happen that breaks me out of character. And I had contact with 2 extras that kind of took me out. I think they were just so caught up in the moment that they were kind of shocked when I directed the energy towards them. But for the most part, the majority of the room just rode along with it and were looking at me like, oh my God, Erica's going crazy. And it worked. You know, we can't do anything without having extras. They are a true necessary part of film, TV making. So that part was a little concerning, but once I got over the first couple takes and identified which extras I would look at, it was just like you said, it was just a letting loose. You know, not many of us have the opportunity to just kirk out like that in life. Yeah. So it was a little freeing.
I just got that. That's brilliant. And also, we must talk about the season finale, because I still can't really get it out of my mind. I mean, if you're a fan of the show, that kind of stuff in the finale, when you're on the bridge with Evie, played by Jasmine Brown, that's really effective. In fact, Jasmine really hits it out of the park. She's not saying a thing, but you can see that it's really cutting her, that her mum is losing it and is trying to pull her back from the breach. Can you talk us through that scene on the bridge? Because it was kind of the climax of the whole season. Right.
It was just so wonderful being able to do that with Jasmine. She's such a great young actress, and she's really, really committed to the craft. She listens, she studies, and she's still fun. So she was just a joy to be around. And it was very emotional for she and I, because I guess it's for her and I. That was my mom. My mom's a teacher. That was like her, like listening to me talking, and I'm self-correcting as if she's there. But we both, Mimi directed that episode, and she really did not want it to be over emotional, but she wanted to be just right, you know, and it was a very fine line. So there were moments in between takes where she and I both just kind of had to cry and let some of it out, so that we didn't just become blubbery on camera. I mean, this is a moment where, you know, a mom is being reunited with her daughter, but it doesn't happen, and that's heartbreaking. I mean, just the build up to it. I would imagine, you know, I know it's going to happen because I read the script, but I would imagine the audience was probably like, it's going to be a happy leftovers moment, and there are never any happy leftovers moments. And you're right.
Sorry, everybody.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true. It's a true story. We've got to talk about Australia, not the whole country, but obviously the show is moving there, or has moved there. Mimi Leader's there now, setting up. And I think you should just, don't worry, no one's watching. Just tell us every single thing about season 3, and then we'll be done. Maybe not. I don't want you to get fired. But you're coming down to Melbourne to shoot that the last.
I don't know. I mean, just like last season, this season is shrouded in mystery. You know, I do these interviews. I did an interview after the season is done, and with Trevor Noah, and he's asking questions, and I'm like, I don't know. But isn't that the great part about it, that you don't know?
You don't know nothing. Oh well, I try.
I will say that Erica's back. I will say that the Murphys are back. I will say that some might be in Australia, some might not.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
And I could be part of either one of those sums. But know. I will say that you will be thrown for those. Damon and Tom are continuing to throw you with those body blows, those cheap shots, you know, those that you don't see coming, where you go, whoa, what? Oh, wait, rewind. Did that just happen? Those exist already. We're only on episode 3, and we've got a couple of them already.
We are so looking forward to that. Us fans are just desperate to know what's going to happen. And it's so cool that the show is moving to Australia. Were you surprised that the production just decided to pick up and move to the other side of the planet
honestly, any other show, I would have been surprised. But Leftovers is so out of the box, and I'm still trying to understand the rules of the Leftovers, because there are some rules, and they exist in Damon's head, Damon and Tom in their heads, and when they're like mad scientists that say, we know the rules of our world, but no one else does. But with this show, I feel like they can make anything work. So I was not totally surprised. I would say very intrigued to find out how they're going to thread the characters that are here and why they get there. That's going to be very interesting to see.
It is going to be very interesting
for you guys to see. I'm reading them as they go.
You know it all, but it's a mystery. We're just going to have to wait. It's better if you just wait, everybody. So chill out.
It always is.
And chill out. A few days ago, you went to an Emmy FYC event, right, for the show. Tell us about that night. What was the feedback you were getting about the show's second season?
Well, one, it was in a really big theater, so I was shocked that so many people came out for that event. I was just thrown by that. I mean, you do these events, and it's not a full house. You know, it's not. It's usually in small theaters or something like that. So when they said it was going to be at the Paramount Theater, I was like, whoa, are they sure? Okay. And they were sure, and they were right, and it was full, and it was good to see everybody, because I've done some work already, but I haven't gotten the chance to see everybody. So, and I still didn't get the chance to see Javon, because he is in Pennsylvania working. He's doing Fences with Denzel Washington. Yeah, so I didn't get to see my baby, But I got to see one of my babies and
it.
the rest of the cast. And Carrie, she was in Chicago, so I didn't get a chance to see her. But I don't know. I'm one of those people that I just get so excited seeing people that I really like a lot, that you don't see but every few years, because you only kind of work together and then you go on about life. So I get excited to catch up and hear about what people's kids are doing. And
yeah.
So I was doing more of that than anything.
Yeah, it's just like another day at the office. Hey, how's it going? How was your summer? Yeah, I get that. Now, this is where we stand. American Crime got 10 nominations at the Emmys last year. We're expecting that hopefully you guys will break that and get even more. And Leftovers was overlooked completely for its first season, but its second season was a completely different ball game, and it became so much more critically acclaimed. So hopefully you guys will be at the Emmys for that. So you're on 2 ballots, and the real American Crime will be if you're not nominated for your roles on these shows, because we have just really, really enjoyed seeing you on our television sets this past season. Thanks, Regina.
Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. We appreciate the support. It's always good talking to the Go Derby folks.